republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board members are here. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Lee. All those in favor?
No, Mr. Chair, I'd like to request that we take item A off the consent agenda and vote on it separately with the financial institutions.
Okay, do I have a second to remove the?
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in any other?
We got to vote on the motion first.
Okay, do I have a
For the amendment.
all those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries 4-0, right? 4-0. Okay. Going back, now approval of the agenda as changed. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
That's
You
already.
already have a
Sorry,
motion and a
do I have
second.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, I
You
second.
already have a second.
Okay, I'm sorry. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries 4-0. Next on the agenda is the oath of office. If all the members could come up front. The new one. It is an honor that you are elected to guide the education of our community's children. As you recite the oath of office, you assume a tremendous responsibility as a director of our school district with the duties empowered by the Minnesota legislature. This power puts you and other members of our school board in the position of being both morally and legally responsible for equitable, quality education of every student in the district. In carrying out this responsibility, you will be asked to fulfill the roles of vision, structure, accountability, and advocacy. In providing vision, the school board, with extensive participation of the community, envisions the community's educational future and then formulates the goals, defines the outcomes, and sets the course for public schools. To achieve the vision, the board establishes a structure and creates an environment designed to ensure all students the opportunity to attain their maximum potential through a sound organizational framework. Because as a board we must be accountable to the community, we must ensure a continuous assessment of student achievement and all conditions affecting the education of our children. As board members, we serve as education's key advocate on behalf of the students and our community schools to advance the vision of our schools. Furthermore, we must strive to work together and with the superintendent and staff to lead the district toward fulfilling the vision we have created, fostering excellence for every student in the areas of academic skills and knowledge, citizenship, and personal development. Having signed the acceptance of office and oath of office, I hereby ask you to publicly affirm your commitment to the oath of office. Please repeat after me. We affirm that we will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state, and that we will discharge faithfully the duties of the office of school board member of Independent School District 719 to the best of my judgment and ability. You want to say that all at once?
That's what you did to us, Eric.
I affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state, and that I will discharge faithfully the duties of the office of school board member of Independent School District 719 to the best of my judgment and ability.
Congratulations.
You did the same thing to us last night.
What's it? Sutter? No. Oh, you bet.
Next on the agenda is the election of officers. Do I have any nominations for board chair?
It would be my honor to nominate Mr. Eric Pratt to be the chair for the 2011 school year, calendar year, sorry.
Do I hear any other nominations? Hearing none. We can just a couple. Okay. All those in favor of Eric Pratt being board chair for 2011 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
You are now board chair.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's my honor to serve as chair this year, and I appreciate the support. With that, we need to fill out the other officer positions. And next on the agenda would be nominations for vice chair. Yes.
I'd like to nominate Lee Schimick as vice chair.
Great. Is there a second to the nomination of Lee Schimick? By Stacy? Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Great. Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That motion carries 7-0. Congratulations, Lee.
Thank you. I look forward to it.
Next, I'd like to entertain a nomination for clerk treasurer of the board. I would, as a longstanding member of the finance committee, I would like to nominate Mike Murray. May I get a second?
I'll second that.
By Tom. Any other nominations? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries 7-0. Congratulations, Mike.
Thank you.
And thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda. We have a number of items to do. As part of the organizational meeting, we need to designate the official school district newspapers, and we have traditionally and plan to continue to do the Prior Lake American, the Prior Lake Minnesota, and the Savage Pacer of Savage Minnesota as the official school district legal newspapers. Name the school district financial consultants to be Ehlers and Associates. Name the school district legal counsel as the law firms of Knudsen, Flynn, and Deans, as well as Ratwick, Rozak, and Maloney. Name is our district auditing firm, Larson and Allen, LLP. Assistant board clerk and treasurer as Julie Sink, Director of Business Affairs, and will perform the duties of the board clerk treasurer pursuant to statute 123B.14, and shall be named assistant board clerk and treasurer. Authorize the following people to lease, purchase, and contract for goods and services within the budget. Dr. Groover, Superintendent of Schools, Director Sink, Director of Business Affairs, to lease and purchase and contract goods, provided that the transaction is in an amount exceeding the minimum amount for which bids are required, or any amount exceeding the amount requiring a bid must be first authorized by the board to fulfill all applicable requirements. Designating the school district's special education coordinator for federal programs, and data practice compliance officer, we named Doug Kern. I'm sorry, I'm skipping around here so much. As the school district special ed coordinator, Julie Sink as the district's federal programs coordinator, Jeff Holmberg as the district LEA and ESEA programs, and Matt Mons as the data practices compliance officer. Delegate Julie Sink, Director of Business Affairs, the authority to make electronic transfers, and in addition, the appropriate documentation, including written confirmation. Direct the administration to publish the annual rights, notification of rights, protection, and privacy of student records, and set board compensation equal to previous years. That is the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries 7-0.
Did we get a motion?
Approval of,
Did we get a motion? We didn't get a motion.
oh,
I'll make
I'm
the
sorry. Motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make the motion.
By Lee. Second.
Second.
By Tom. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Approval of the board committees. What I'd like to do is go to your agenda, page 7. What we've tried to do is set forth and propose board reps for all the committees. Over the last 2 months since the election, we've been having internal discussions about what those committee structures should look like. I would like to propose this structure and open it up for discussion.
Do you want a motion first or a discussion first?
I was just going to have it as discussion first.
Okay.
And then if there's no discussion, then I would entertain a motion. If there's discussion, then we can certainly take it back for further review. Hearing no discussion, then I would like to entertain a motion to approve the committee assignments and board rep school assignments as listed.
I'll make the motion to,
Yes.
Are we approving the building representatives right now?
I believe it's under one agenda item.
Okay, I guess,
Yes.
okay. Do we go forward with the motion as granted, or can I make
Certainly.
another motion?
I had asked for discussion ahead of time, so any comments I'd be happy to entertain.
I guess I'd like to offer myself to being a board representative for the ALC School Bridges,
Okay?
if that would be possible.
You don't have that on there, so that would be absent.
Okay. So we can make that change. Any other? So then I'd like to offer it up, entertain a motion for the board yes.
I do have one other
Sorry.
comment with the ALC. I guess that's kind of a gray area for me because as the high school rep, I assumed that position to be rep to the ALC. So if that's a change, I just want to make sure that's clear that that's no longer the case. Because these are high school kids. And so I just assumed that was also something that I did as I did last year.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we
I was unaware that, Lee, that was in there, and if that is the case,
I guess it was
then
never
that's
publicly
fine.
stated.
Right. I just want to make
Because
sure
it was
that
part of a high school, I went.
they have
kept with it.
access to a board rep,
Okay.
and if that's the case, then.
what I'd like to do then is why don't we entertain a motion as presented, and if there are any amendments down the line, we can certainly entertain them at that point in time. So if we decide that we should have a separate board rep for the ALC versus the high school, we can address it at that time.
Okay.
Nothing says we can't reorganize it. So a motion to approve the committee assignments and school representatives as presented
I'll make the motion.
by Mike. Second by Todd. Any other comments or discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries 7-0. Hold on, I got to get back here. Next on the agenda is a discussion of meeting formats and procedures. So typically, we've had a start time of 7 p.m. for our board meetings. We have Laker Pride on one meeting, Laker Showcase on another. In addition, we typically have, as you can see, the handouts, agendas, so on and so forth. Does anybody have anything that they'd like to talk about specifically about meeting format and agenda? And I believe we have, I'm sorry, I'm sticking with the agenda here. Do we have was there something in the handouts or the
On the,
Yeah, there's the policy.
the general statement of conducting board meetings?
it is policy 203
Policies.
is attached on page 10.
And under item C, you'll find the order of the meetings. Does anybody have any comments or changes that they'd like to propose?
One thing that we're going to work better on this year is to have all of the agenda items at our first planning meeting, even if we don't have the full documentation for it. So we're going to work really hard to get that done, and we're going to be having those planning meetings the Monday prior to the board meeting. So everything should be ready to go as far as topics, and then by the time that you get your board packet from Board Book, all the documentation will be filled out as we go forward. But hopefully we won't be adding things to the agenda after that Monday afternoon or Tuesday afternoon meeting on whichever day we meet. So that'll be a change, I think a good change for us.
I guess the only, Looks like I'm off. Look at that. Eric, the only comment that I would make is, unless there's anything to change tonight, I think what we're doing is fine, but I think in years past, if we've seen a need to change something, we've worked through the policy committee and made those changes real time. So, I know we've changed the time of the meetings from 7:30 to 7, several years ago, and we've, I think, even changed some of the structure of things. So, right now, I think it seems to work, unless any of the new board members have a question or whatever. I would propose that we go forward with what we've got.
I guess I don't have a question about the agenda or the order. My question is about the minutes. As a person who's read the minutes before, I would appreciate if the minutes would maybe offer a flavor of the discussion or the main discussion points in some of those issues where there's extensive board discussion.
I think the minutes are the legal record that the meeting happened and have to follow a certain process. Could we have a flavor of them?
Because does not prior late
Let's-
the city council?
Let's have
do
the
something.
conversation when Martha gets here,
Okay.
because she is our minute taker.
And I would agree. I think what we're talking about is not necessarily changing the meeting structure, but that's more of a procedural change that we can address
Okay.
offline.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay? I don't believe that was an action item. The next is also not an action item. On page 15 of your agendas, you'll see an in-service discussion with some tentative study sessions that we have set. Looking at the 24th, having a board study session at 5 p.m. to talk about the superintendent's mid-year goal review, and then also trying to reserve some time for finance and budgeting discussion. Looking ahead at the 14th, having a finance committee and board study session again, focused on the budget for 2011-2012. The 28th, possibly looking at a strategic scorecard discussion, trying to get a better understanding of how we derived the metrics that we are measuring and how we set the thresholds of strength or opportunity. And then just reserving some time out without anything specifically set, so that we can continue to work and grow as a board and talk about some hot topics at the point in time they're relevant. Any comments? Again, this is, yes.
You said February 14th, there'd be also a board study session. That's not on mine. I just wanted to clarify that. Is that what you meant?
Am I looking at an old version?
I think so. We may have an old version.
You're right. The new version doesn't have it. The old version did.
Okay, but it is going to happen?
What were we planning,
So were we
Julie?
talking about
Julie?
moving that to February 7th, possibly? Is that?
No, we will have a meeting on January 24th.
Right.
full board.
What about the 14th? February 14th.
We had it on for February 7th, which was the off date.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Oops, I'm sorry.
please.
Oh, the only question I was, around this time of year, at least for the last several years, we've actually invited our legislators to come in and talk to us, and I know we've, in some cases, done it as a workshop where we've met with them prior to the board meeting and then continued it over, and I don't know if that's a consideration, but I would think especially now this year that we know that they're in their budget biennium, and especially in light of the fact that our senator representing us, Claire Roebling, is the chair of the committee. I think it would be very prudent for us to try and spend some time with not only Claire, but also Representative Beard and Representative Biskin. So I would strongly encourage that we try to schedule something with them.
We'll try to get that done in February, if possible.
So did
Like
we
we did
determine
last year.
on the 7th there was going to be a board study session?
It's listed on the bottom under finance.
Got it. Okay.
Maybe I'd suggest February 7th if the legislators are available, since it is a board work session and it's not a meeting included. We'd have more time to visit with them if that works for them.
I'll see what I can do.
Well, they might be busy.
They might be. I'm sure we'll have to give them a few dates, but maybe that one would work.
Sometimes it works early. We'll see what we can do, but we'll get them here as soon as they're available.
Great.
Okay,
So February 14th?
February 14th is
regular
off.
board?
That's
Okay.
the old version. So we're looking at 2 weeks from tonight. We would have a board study and finance session at 5 p.m. A finance committee meeting on February the 7th, in which the entire board is invited to, and I would encourage you to come. Then again, a board study session on the 28th of February, that then talk about strategic scorecard and strategic direction.
Right. And we'll be flexible on those dates in case the legislators can come on any one of those dates that we've just designated.
And I don't believe this was an action item.
Can I raise a question? Has the board ever considered a Saturday meeting time? I know other districts
We've
do
talked
that.
about it.
We've had workshops on Saturday mornings.
Okay.
Yeah, years ago we did.
And did that work well?
Depends on who you ask.
Yeah. You know, it really depended on what the composition of the board was and where their families were at.
Okay.
And it would be something that we could certainly discuss. I don't think it's limited. It's just a matter of how available people are on a Saturday to do it.
I can
And we
certainly-
ended up, over the years now, mostly picking Mondays because all of us kind of have Monday set aside.
I'm concerned about having to get enough stuff in by the 7 p.m. timeframe, so if we're not done.
Correct.
But we can discuss that.
Oh, and we've done workshops on non-board Monday nights, too.
Right.
Right.
Just kind of with the assumption that
That's
Mondays in general should be somewhat,
As you're looking at,
That's
yeah,
fine.
as you're looking at the 7th,
Yeah.
that would be one.
And the,
Right.
and June 6th.
And just the way we did December 6th, when we had our data retreat,
Right.
that was instead of a board meeting with the full 4
Okay.
hours. So we can certainly do those as needed.
Again, this is tentative, and we can adjust it as we move on and as the schedule agenda comes together. Are there any other items?
yep.
Yes.
We did move one item off of the consent agenda, so I would
Thank you for
make
reminding
the
me.
motion that we designate as the depositories for our school district funds, Prior Lake State Bank, U.S. Bank of Prior Lake, Wells Fargo Bank, Wells Fargo of Minneapolis, the Minnesota School District Liquid Asset Fund Plus, and the PMA Financial Network.
Great. Do I have a second for that motion?
I'll second.
By Lee. Any other questions or discussion on that item? Due to a potential conflict of interest, I will not be voting on that item. So, hearing no other discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes 6-0 with one abstention. Now I'll entertain a motion to close the organizational meeting if there are no other items to come.
I'll make that motion.
By Rich, second.
Second.
By Stacy. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are closed, and we will reconvene at 7 p.m. for the regular board meeting.
Short meeting with you and Sharon.